Thank you for listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Visit our website at awakenedradio.net. Our broadcasts are brought to you in part by thebarefootguru.com, where you can discover the power of survival in your life. Author, teacher, coach, and radio host Donna Devaney invites you to co-create your dreams. Awakened Radio Network is sponsored in part by evolutionaryspiritualitycoaching.com, where self-discovery is co-created with loving guidance. Author, coach, teacher, and radio host Donna Devaney invites you to move into a new experience of self. Visit evolutionaryspiritualitycoaching.com today. At Awakened Radio Network, we bring you the how-to you've been asking about. Our hosts are top-notch teachers, authors, and coaches who love sharing their messages with you, our listeners. If you have a message you'd like to share on Awakened Radio, visit our website at awakenedradio.net. Look for Services tab, then click on Be a Host. Add Awakened Radio to Skype and type Donna a message. Thank you for listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Visit our website at awakenedradio.net, where you can communicate with our hosts through our forums, our live chat room, and our call-in information so that you can join us on the air is always on our live chat page. Find out about our hosts, about how to host your own show, how to be a partner for success with us, to sponsor a show, or to advertise with us. Thank you so much for taking part in the Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net.
Welcome to Your Unfolding Senses. I'm your host, Ragozzine, and on this show, we'll be exploring everything intuition. Let's get started. Hello everyone, I'm Rob Ragozzine. This is Your Unfolding Senses. We're here to connect with all your intuitive sensory capabilities. Tonight we'll be talking about compassion, which I believe is a very important aspect of intuition in regards to paying attention to your body. First, I want to thank Donna for managing the shows and Susan and Chris for excellent shows tonight. And stay tuned for Christina with the Aurora Connection after my show. And please join us in the chat room at awakeneradio.net. Click on the live chat tab, or you can join us on air by calling Awaken Radio in Skype or dialing 334-649-7204. If you have a dream you'd like to talk about, or maybe you're seeing recurring numbers, or seeing some sort of recurring symbol or an animal that you keep seeing, call in and we'll talk about it. I have my own that I've seen this week that I'll talk about later in the show. But for now, we'll talk about compassion and what it might mean for us, especially throughout the year in 2013. If you're so inclined and you're willing to make a donation, and all donations are greatly appreciated. We're all here helping you for no cost to you. So if you've enjoyed the past shows tonight or this show, please find it in your heart to click on the donate button at the top of all the screens at awakeneradio.net. You can find me at Your Unfolding Senses on Facebook and follow the posts related to current and past shows, and I have a bunch of intuition challenges on there and other posts related to the topics that we'll be talking about that week. But before we settle in, I'd like to welcome any callers, especially questions about positive experiences or learning that you've had from past experiences or relationships or dreams or questions about them, as I said before. Um, and please feel free to post in the chat, too, if you have a question about a symbol or a sign. Before we really move on tonight, I'd like everyone to get up and shake a little of the excess energy off. I'll even get up myself and just shake your arms a little, and we'll do a little meditation so that we can connect to our intuitive senses. You might even start with a question that you've been asking. Set the intention to get an answer as we do the meditation tonight. So put that in your mind and say to yourself, I'd like the answer to this question. What, for instance, if you have a solution you're looking for, so say, I'd like to see a possible solution to this problem. So we'll do the meditation now before we go on. So gently closing your eyes and taking a few slow and deep breaths. Releasing any stress and feeling it flow away. Continuing your slow and gentle breathing and gently connecting with a sense of inner knowing, inner calm, tranquility, peace. Allow this peace to fill your body. Continue breathing and releasing, and feel that you can easily connect to all the answers that are within. As you continue to connect to this inner knowing, feel where it is strongest in your body. Perhaps it's in your heart. Spend a moment here, gently asking if you can receive a sign or a symbol, but allow whatever comes to come. Maybe it's a word, a phrase, maybe it's the full answer to your question. Let it come. And if nothing comes, that's okay. Simply feel into this space and allow it to fill your perception. Continue breathing and feeling into the space and allow yourself to feel fully connected. Allow yourself to believe that you can come here anytime you'd like. When you're ready, you can begin to slowly breathe normally, slowly bring yourself back to yourself, bring your awareness to the room, and gently begin to open your eyes. Now, as I mentioned, tonight I'd like to talk a little bit about compassion. And I've got a chat room question first. Aurora is asking about the 11/11 phenomenon I've been seeing for the past 2 years. And I think I've talked about this on some past shows. And I'll have to post, when I get some time, into the chat room some posts I've written about recurring numbers. But in general, you might like to look to your first chakra and issues around safety and comfort and security first. So ask yourself, when you see those numbers, what was I thinking about? Maybe you were thinking about one of those issues around security or comfort or safety. It's good to keep a log to record these kinds of things. So maybe a dream book or a separate book for just these numbers, and when you see them, to actually record your thoughts and feelings prior to seeing them. And then maybe sit down and ask yourself, what am I feeling in this moment? Am I feeling unsecure? Am I feeling nervous? And maybe it's not related to that at all, but that's a good place to start. Next, you might go to your favorite book or movie and flip ahead to the 11th chapter in the 11th sentence, for instance. Or you might go to your favorite movie and go 11 minutes into the movie and see what the message there is within the movie. And I remember doing this for myself with Shutter Island, and they were talking about a woman who had escaped the previous evening. So right there, I was looking for bringing some, we'll say, accepting and um, more gentle energy into my life. If you want to go psychological terms, you could say the feminine, look at animus energy in your life. But basically, it's looking at where that energy has gone, the lighter, softer energy. At least for me in that movie, if you use your own movie, you'll obviously get a different message. So work with the movies or your books or your chakras. So look at the first chakra and notice how you feel around the comfort and security and safety. Look to your home, to how welcoming it is to you, how comforting you feel in your home. And that's pretty much why we're talking about compassion tonight, because that extends not only to yourself, but to others and to your home. It's treating yourself with respect, and that's what we'll be talking about tonight. So any questions about that, you can call us here at Awakened Radio, and we can discuss that further. Maybe you're even having dreams about that. Issues are related to your security and comfort, so you want to pay attention to those too, and really look at how they're all trying to bring a message to you and what message they're carrying. So I would like to talk about compassion. So as I'm speaking, you really want to look to the signs that life is bringing you about compassion. Look to what you're paying attention to, but also not paying attention to. So what signs are you missing? What are your dreams calling for? In Susan's show tonight, she was talking about, instead of fighting your vulnerability around all of this, surrender to it. So you might want to look at, well, how can I do that? And at first, that might be difficult, but building a support group for yourself, finding people that are going through some of the same things, maybe finding a therapist or a counselor or a clergy member who can talk you through some of this, all can be very helpful. And we'll look at how 2013 and its underlying themes that are prevalent around compassion and your relationships can really help you to open up to better relationships with yourself, better relationships with others, and with the world around you. Now, we'll also look at, since just recently we had the Chinese lunar calendar turn to the year of the snake, and specifically the water snake. So you want to look at how you can adapt and flow around your problems and obstacles. How can you be more open and receiving to learning the lessons that are there and move around them, and maybe not try to smash them head on, but to take them in a more gentle and easygoing fashion. Ask for help, ask for a solution, look to your dreams. It's all, again, they offer possible solutions around your problems. And the snake, if you think about what a snake is, really offers you the chance and the opportunity to see more, because they're very observant, they wait, they're patient, notice more, be more aware, and just notice your perceptive abilities, maybe even notice your ability to smell that we talked about in some of the earlier shows, your intuitive sense of smell. And as a snake likes to shed its skin, you can look to symbolically see how you can leave behind some of your issues and how you can use them to transform your life into something new. See what's blocked again and see how you might shed that problem in a way that is constructive and healthy. And of course, friendships at this time are very important. So look to how you can nurture and support those friendships, both from a joy and a social perspective, but also from just having the friendships and the connections in your life. So our life is always showing us things. So if we look at it from the perspective of the year of the snakes, you might look to the symbols that are coming to you now as a way to perhaps let go or release of anything that was troubling you in 2012. So let it go. And David Lloyd this week in Spiritual Calling was again talking about a similar theme where he was saying what our lives are trying to tell us, maybe seek a higher ground and always be listening. So basically try to pay attention to your life, but it doesn't have to be difficult or hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle to listen. You could make it a practice in your everyday life and just be open to the messages that are coming to you. Now, what is compassion? And as I mentioned before, it's really just caring for yourself, and it's not about letting yourself get sand kicked in your face or inaction. It's really about first having concern for your own well-being and then an overall well-being for the rest of the world, but starting with you and branching out to those closest to you and then the world at large. And Sharon Salzberg says, sometimes we think that to develop an open heart, to be truly loving and compassionate means that we need to be passive, to allow others to abuse us, to smile, and let anyone do what they want with us. Yet this is not what is meant by compassion. Quite the contrary. Compassion is not at all weak. It is the strength that arises out of the seeing the true nature of suffering in the world. Compassion allows us to bear witness to that suffering, whether it is in ourselves or others, without fear. It allows us to name injustice without hesitation and to act strongly with all the skill at our disposal. Again, it's about caring for yourself, others, and the world around you, and everyone can develop it for themselves. So even if you're super He-Man weightlifter pro, compassion can be vital, and that might simply mean saying no to dangerous chemicals or steroids. It might even mean lifting less to do less damage to your body. For the stereotypical 90-pound dude or dudette, compassion might simply mean saying no to people causing harm in the world, even though you feel alone, and watching others slowly join your cause, just like Chris was talking about the seeds earlier tonight. So maybe finding a way to have your own seeds and grow them on your own farm, like she's doing. And part of compassion really is about learning to sit with your discomfort. Now, what the heck does that mean? It's not the same thing as sitting around and feeling bad and like garbage for yourself. It's just being able to sit within unease and watching how you feel like maybe you want to chew off your arm, for instance, but that's not the end of the world. It's being okay in the moment of distress, even if you have butterflies. It doesn't mean that you're going to be grinding your teeth down to the nubs. So, really, just paying attention to how you're feeling in the moment and recognizing where the feeling leads. So what if, instead of shirking off this feeling of edgy nervousness and not going all the way, yes, to munching off your arm, you just took a breath and looked your problems square in the face, per se, and asked them what they were trying to tell you. Now, how do you do that? So maybe you sit down and look deep into yourself, as Susan was talking about tonight again, and feel into what the nervousness is attached to. So we just had a question about the seeing the 111. So you might ask, well, what does this message mean for me? Where am I nervous in my life? How can I feel more safe and grounded and protected? And maybe it starts out simply by believing that you're safe and grounded and protected in that moment and noticing nothing bad is happening to you in that moment and being okay with that moment and making it to the next moment and learning to breathe and be patient and just take your time and make space for the feeling. And maybe as you make space and time to feel the feeling, it will slowly dissipate. And then when you get another feeling that's related to something intuitive-wise, like you feel like something has to be done, but instead of running around nervously, you can actually have the ability to sit down and connect to the feeling on a deeper level. Then you'll be able to make sense of what the message is. It's really about being able to be okay with the feelings as they come and pay attention to them. And for a lot of people today, that's anxiety. And maybe for you that the first thing that you can do is to sit and be comfortable with anxiety. Maybe you can do a simple breathing meditation and just notice your breath. Pay attention to your breath for 5 minutes at a time and breathe and be okay with yourself in the moment. And just notice the feeling as it arises and say something like, oh, I'm feeling nervous now. That's okay. I'll let it go. You're not burying it. You're letting it go. You're paying attention to it. You might even ask what it needs. And it might need an ice cream sundae. It might need for you to stop a relationship. It might need you to go look for a new job. But if you're not paying attention to the feelings, you'll never get to the bottom of what it's connected to. And as we're talking about compassion and symbols and signs, as I was driving this week, I was out and I saw a billboard with a real simple message, and it was about some local gentleman who was hosting a live program, and it said, "See Rob live," only that's not how I read it. I read it as "See Rob live," and when you feel like a quickening in your stomach, that's when you got a good message. That's a real juicy, alive, full of potential message. And in the moment, I asked, well, what am I open to here? What do I want to bring into my life if I'm seeing me live? And in the moment, the answer was love and kindness. So asking what needs to be lived immediately, that was the answer for me. Of course, it always starts with you. So the next question you might want to ask, next question I have to ask myself is, how can I be loving and kind to myself? And for you, and it might not be as quick and as easy to get the answer, but just recognizing the sign and having the compassion to stop for a few moments and wonder, oh, what might that mean for me? Then you can have a wonderful transformation. And if you have questions about this, you can call in 334-649-7204 or connect to Awakened Radio in Skype. Or join us in the chat room at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat room tab. And we'll talk about the secret object now because I forgot about it today. But today I'd like you to connect to a sense of smell for this secret object. So, and I even have a picture of the secret object, which I'll post to the chat room. So if you can't intuit it and you want to see what it is, then you can click on it and go right there. But at least try to connect with your intuitive sense of smell and connect with what it is. And if we don't get any solution between now and the break, I'll continue this after the break. And there was a guest in the chat room for peach, and it's definitely not a peach. Really try to connect with what the object smells like. I have a picture of it that I posted in the chat room, and I have it on my desk. So it's in two places. And while I have some time before we go to break, I'd like to talk about some research that the Stanford University is doing in April. They're going to be offering the purpose of compassion and business, April 30th, and it's about creating a dialogue around cutting-edge research and best practices for compassion in business. So I thought that was pretty cool, especially as I was talking about it tonight. So I'll be looking to see what the topics they bring up during that conversation and probably come back and talk more about that sometime in May after the conference. And I have a quote from Brian L. Weiss that ties in nicely here. It says, "Come from the heart, the true heart, not the head. When in doubt, choose the heart. This does not mean to deny your own experiences and that which you have empirically learned through the years. It means to trust yourself, to integrate intuition and experience. There is a balance, a harmony to be nurtured between the head and the heart. When the intuition rings clear and true, loving impulses are favored." So really paying attention to what you're getting from your heart, but also being discerning with the information and using it for your best interests and not just dismissing it either because it doesn't seem logical, but to blend the two and see how it might be used to really help you to take the next best step forward in your life. And I'll post another article from Psychology Today that really talks about how play can help you to boost your overall self-esteem, and it takes a lot of compassion to be willing to step into play. So you might want to take a look at that and see where it might lead you. They were talking about how it boosts creativity, helps with outside-the-box thinking, improves health, makes us present, and helps us to connect better with ourselves and others. And we're coming up pretty close to the break, so please join us after the commercial, and we'll talk more about compassion.
Thank you for listening to Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net. Join us to take part in our live chat room, our forum. Check out who's going to be interviewed next on our interviews page. AwakenedRadio.net is brought to you in part by TheBarefootGuru.com. Visit TheBarefootGuru.com today to find out how you can take part in the Creative Playground Mastermind Group. You will learn how to be awake, aware, alert, and to create consciously the life that you really do want to experience. Visit TheBarefootGuru.com today.
Celia, have you heard about the new Increased Self-Worth and Increased Prosperity online course yet?
No, what have you heard?
Darlene took it and said, Ingrid Geronimo's 6 Steps to Achieve Increased Self-Worth and Increased Prosperity is a first-class, thought-provoking program designed to identify and overcome self-esteem and money challenges. Each exercise gives you the tools to help change patterns in your life that can sabotage success. This program is a must-have. By the end of the program, you not only feel a change in yourself, you feel like you can make a difference in the world. I love that I can take this course in the privacy of my own home, so I'm going to purchase my copy of it too.
Where can I purchase a copy?
Just go to IngridGeronimo.com and you'll find it on her products page.
Awaken Radio is brought to you in part by MikoPlays.com. Miko Plays brings you custom YouTube intros and custom backgrounds for your YouTube channel. Have you ever wanted a really cool intro or background, but you didn't want to spend hundreds on one? Well, now you can get a fully customizable intro or background that won't eat into your wallet, and here's how. You can get a custom background for only $10. You can get a regular background for only $5. You can also get a fully custom intro for only $100. That's a steal. If you would like more information on how to get your background or intro, please visit MikoPlays.com. That's MEIKO Plays.com.
Welcome to your Unfolding Senses. I'm your host, Rob Ragozzine, and on this show, we'll be exploring everything intuition. Let's get started. Okay. I don't see any get intuitive hits in the chat. So I guess I've stumped everyone, or you've already gone off and clicked on the photo and seen the secret image. I'm not sure. But if you continue to post intuitive hits, I'll talk about it. If not, we'll move on. So I was talking about the billboard before that I saw this week, and I also was watching an episode of one of the hospitals as well. It's Grey's Anatomy, and in the running theme of the show now is the hospital's being bought out, and the doctors are trying to find a way around the sale of the hospital. And as you're watching the show, there's these huge posters of one of the doctor's faces up on the walls, and right below the doctor's face it says compassion. But that's just the surface, as it's really about the new organization streamlining, and they're just trying to have a face of the hospital, and they're not really giving the doctors any time to do anything in detail with their patients. And I get chat room, and that smells a minty smell, and it's really not, you could consider it a strong smell, but not minty. And one of the quotes that stuck out from the show to me was one of the doctors saying, "I have to make myself smaller to work here." One of the women doctors. So really having compassion for herself and not wanting to put up with the changes going on. So what does this mean for you and me? We go back to listening to our bodies, which I'm really learning to do. Hearing what your body needs and wants. Again, maybe turning off your computer and your phone and your TV and your radio and get to sleep at a good time. That's what I'm really been practicing these last few months. Eat the foods that are nourishing and cook them. Means thinking more about my world for me starts with simple things like Chris was talking about, buying more organics, spending time just walking, exploring. I live in the city, so some of this exploration is more micro. I'm just starting to grow some herbs, and I've tried it a couple times, and I never seem to get it right. But I've got some organic dirt and organic seeds. I'm going to try it again, and they're sprouting and growing, so I like that. I think I planted some mustard and 2 other things. Or it might mean volunteering for you, so maybe being part of a food co-op, maybe learning Reiki and joining one of the hospital volunteer programs and helping people to feel better about themselves, cleaning up your environment, having your voice be heard. It's all part of having compassion for yourself. It starts with you, and then once you have enough for yourself, you'll be able to share it with others. But it starts with you. If you're feeling bad about yourself and constantly criticizing yourself and have a huge inner critic, you're probably not going to be able to share compassion with anyone. You're probably not going to be able to listen to yourself and connect with your intuitive hits. And you're probably not going to be able to pay attention to your dreams as much. It means, again, being vulnerable and not turning away from the pain. So at first, this can be a big one, and it's really, again, learning to sit with it, be in the moment. It can be hard. It can also be very rewarding to pay attention to it and see what it's ultimately connected to. Now, and we have another intuitive hit from Susan. She says she smells can't, and she saw a hollow rod or flute-like object with 2 arms. Well, that's pretty close to the secret object. So you get the permission to go click on the link and see what it is. And we'll get back to that, what it actually is, in a few moments. So on the show, Raising That, several of the doctors go to the board to stop the hospital from being sold and tell them they want to resign. There, they come to terms with the hard thing to do, and they do it. They're looking for a different solution, but they didn't have time to implement it. So they're really connected with the painful step of saying they're going to leave. Another guest from the chat room, not guest, hint. Not Susan. Donna says she's smelling hospital smells. And no, it's not hospital smells. So I guess I'll talk about what that object is now, if you haven't already clicked on the link. And tonight's secret object is a cigar. So, once again, Susan, somebody said cedar now that I see it. So, Susan and Jamie C74 had some pretty close guesses tonight. So, ding, 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 you win the prize of bestest guesser, bestest intuitive person of the night. So, if I don't first have compassion for myself, or you don't have compassion for yourself, how can you expect to be able to offer it for others? So I think the first step really is to accept that you need it for to live to feel that you live in a connected world and for a real inner life. Because then the noise and the chaos, you can step out of it once you begin to say to yourself, I deserve better. I deserve to not be treated so harshly. I deserve not to treat myself so harshly. And you'll be willing to then incorporate a compassion practice into your life. So if you have a partner who's willing to help you with this, you might do this exercise together where you sit down and you begin to send compassion to one another. If you don't have someone to do this with, then you can start a 5 daily meditation, or maybe once a week, whatever is enough for you. More than once a week probably would be more beneficial. Every day would be probably best. If you can only do 5 minutes, that's fine. But to spend 5 meditation and just visualize yourself sending compassion to yourself. So just feel yourself becoming more compassionate. For instance, if it helps to bring your hand to your heart and think compassion vibes or whatever your words are, then do that. And just see the results after a week or two. It helps to maybe do this for a month at least, and then extend it out for a week at a time. The research from Matthew Ricard, who is a monk, was is pretty incredible. He's been meditating for many, many years, and there's tons of articles and research around him, and I think he even has a TED Talk. You might want to follow him and see the results of his meditation and the way it's affected his brain. It's definitely changed the structure of his brain. So that might help you to step into this process for yourself. And it's really not even connecting to a deep level of meditation. It's just sitting in, feeling as if you're sending good, compassionate thoughts to yourself, and then perhaps you'll be done with that. Then you can begin to send it to other people, but it's best to start with yourself. So how can compassion connect us to our bodies, more to our intuition? Well, it can. The first thing I think that's important, most important, is that it can help us to recognize that we're human. We all make mistakes, that we sometimes don't listen to our hearts. We're dismissive, and we say, no, I can't do that, maybe later. Well, when is later? Second thing, I think it really helps us begin to open up to our vulnerability. We're willing to look at ourselves. I talked about the weather last week and the simple example of coming to terms with the symbolism, two different symbols that I was getting around the snow. One was light, well, maybe not light, but not as much snow as they were predicting, and one was super heavy-duty snowfall. And it's really paying attention to the different wants and needs, internal wants and needs of my own internal wants and needs, and the real symbolism, and integrating that and figuring out what's going to happen. So even if you're connected to your intuition, you have to make sure that you understand the symbolism that's coming to you. I wanted one outcome, but the outcome was a little different. Third issue, I believe, is that once you have a deeper level of compassion for yourself, we're less likely to turn to the critical side, begin to clear some issues. So now that you're not being so harsh and critical on yourself, maybe you can be less harsh and critical with others. And then we're better able to listen and more able to be available to see what other blockages or obstructions or issues that we might have that we've been unable to address just because we've been arguing with ourselves for so long. And then you'll be less worried about what others might think, because now you're listening to your own inner wisdom and less to that critical voice. And Susan in the chat room mentions Fantasia is great to help visualize the non-physical things like compassion, and I'll have to watch that. Someone just gave that to me for Christmas, so I haven't watched it. But now that you mentioned that, that makes perfect sense. Now, parents with children might like to use this as a good example for their children, just to have them develop some compassion. If you listen to the Patel sisters with their Girl Power show, they're talking about bringing a message of caring and hope to the girls so that they can feel better about themselves and their bodies. And this compassion definitely help there. Now here's a fun exercise that you might try that might help you to feel better about yourself after you've had an argument with someone and you haven't necessarily had time to forgive them or ask for forgiveness yourself. You must close your eyes and visualize someone you've had an argument with recently. It's someone you'd like to forgive, and imagine saying, "I'm sorry," in a compassionate way, and hand a white rose as a token of your forgiveness. And you might repeat this a few times. You might do it today and then tomorrow. And this isn't saying that you don't have to call them or approach them and say, I'm sorry or I forgive you. But this is something that can help you to shift and change some of the dynamics and some of the tenseness that you feel around the situation, and it might even help you to heal the relationship. Maybe it won't, but maybe it'll help heal your internal relationship with that person. So try that whenever you have an argument with someone. And we already talked about sending compassion to someone that you struggle to deal with. So after the work for yourself, I've done this with people that I work with on a number of occasions, and seemingly like Matt, all of a sudden they're behaving differently, or maybe it's just the way that I perceive them is changed. But I do it for a period of time and just spend 5 minutes a night sending them compassionate thoughts and letting them go and see how that feels. For me, it always seems to at least change the situation a little bit so that it's not so stressful and the people aren't so difficult to imagine, whether it's you changing or the other person changing. What difference does it make? It's still, you're allowing the change to happen. Now, I mentioned these simple practices. You might also have a kindness practice. I believe one of the Today Show women had a kindness practice, which she talked about in January, where you did 26 acts of kindness, and I think that was Ann Curry. But you might start one all on your own and just out of the kindness of your heart, do something, help someone across the street, or give a book to someone, or lend someone a quarter, or leave change in the vending machine, whatever it is. Do it out of kindness and see how that helps to change your perspective on life and your day in general. Or it's kind of like having a pay it forward practice. You might meditate on compassion regularly, as I've already been talking about. Another thing that you might do that I've talked about in previous shows is Tonglen, which we'll get to shortly. You might volunteer, so you might help out in a homeless shelter or a hospital or a food bank or any number of places. Definitely helps to develop compassion and connect you deeper to yourself. Of course, keeping a daily journal is always helpful. Having a gratitude practice where you perhaps wake up in the morning and journal what you're grateful for that day, and practice forgiveness. That helps you to develop compassion and be compassionate, because now you're willing to be more forgiving. That doesn't mean that you're willing necessarily to be in a relationship with the person that you've forgiven, but you're letting go of the wounding that you received and moving on, finding a way to heal that, and maybe the relationship will eventually be healed, but not necessarily. So now we'll talk about Tonglen. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can do some research on Pema Chodron. She talks about this in all of her books, but for now, it's a real simple practice, and it really can help feeling stress or anxiety in any situation. So she gives the great example of breathing in hot, thick energy like claustrophobia, and then breathing out a sense of freshness, cool, light, bright energy, and sending it out in 360 degrees. So we'll do that now as an exercise. So breathing in this hot, heavy, thick energy into your heart, and we're transforming it. We're not keeping it. We're breathing it into our heart. So breathing in and then transforming it into your heart as light, fresh, coolness, energy, sending it out from your heart all around you and out to the world. Doing that. We'll do it again, breathing in the heavy and the dark, transforming it, breathing out the light and the radiating and the healing and the cool. So if you're feeling anxiety, you might breathe in the anxiety and breathe out the release, the freedom, the joy, the happiness, connectedness, unity, any number of things. Whatever you think will be good for you to connect more to yourself in the moment. So when you're feeling tense, breathe out ease. Breathe in the tenseness, transform it into ease, breathe it out for yourself, and when you get better, you can breathe it out for others in your life. So if you get a phone call and there's a problem with some family member, you can breathe out the tenseness for them, breathe out the ease for them, and then as you even get better, breathe out for groups of people, like people experiencing cancer, for instance, or AIDS, or any number of diseases. But that's after a period of experience and practice, just getting better and better at it. And so you do it for yourself, again, just like the compassionate exercise that we talked about, and then you extend it out further to immediate friends and family, and then further to your community, and then further to maybe your state, or province, or whatever, your whole country and the world. And Emma says, compassion is not a matter of pity or the strong helping the weak. It's a relationship between equals, one of mutual support. Practicing Tonglen, we come to realize that other people's welfare is just as important as our own. In helping them, we help ourselves. In helping ourselves, we help the world. So it's really about having concern for the whole world, but ultimately it starts with you. And it's not about being inactive or inaction. It's really exactly the opposite. And it's finding a way to be okay in the moment so that you can take the next step forward and not be blocked. Not be critical of yourself, saying, well, that's the wrong thing to do, or I should do this, I could be doing that. No, it's letting go of all the shoulds and the coulds and going to your heart and finding where the compassion leads. So if you're looking to connect with your intuition, you might start with the compassion, decide the critical, the angry, the nervous, all that, and you can still connect with those feelings and deal with them, but it's finding a way to make them okay and to smooth them out. Now, you might, again, as we've been talking about dreams, look to how the dreams relate to any issues around compassion and see what they're calling for. So if you have a dream about clutter, for instance, and you're dreaming that you're in a house full of boxes, you might begin to look at what those boxes represent, but also how you might move them and what the message is. So it's really paying attention to that message and what the dream is trying to bring you. And if we're looking at it from a perspective of compassion, that might simply be to let go of structure, let go of trying to put everything into a box and label it. This isn't about labeling. It's really about getting to know yourself on a new and deeper level. So even if the dream is talking about the structure, for instance, it might be talking about how you have a tendency towards being critical or bossy. So now, what do you do with that? You don't use it to label yourself. Use it to look, well, how has that served me, and how can I transform that in the future? Yes, that can help me to be a good leader, a good parent, a good guardian, but how might it be hindering my relationships? How can I transform that and have compassion for myself at the same time so that I can use it in my life for something that serves me but doesn't hurt me? So look to use these messages for your growth, for one, and look to see how you might begin to incorporate compassion into your life. Now, if you haven't clicked on the link with the secret hint, you can go to my forum page and get the picture. The picture's there right now. I'll probably change it later, delete it later, but it's a cigar. That was the secret object this week. And I want to send you to my Your Unfolding Senses page on Facebook. I basically post relevant information to what I'm talking about this week. So this week I had posts related to compassion and research around compassion and some Edgar Cayce links. So you might go there and read about that. And it's really all about that. And I have intuitive challenges there, so you can do those on your own. I link back to my site with the actual objects so you can guess and post your hits there and give it a try. I posted one tonight. And follow me on Intuition by Rob on Twitter, or Numbers by Rob on Twitter. The Intuition by Rob is my Twitter link for this show, and Your Unfolding Senses is my Facebook page for this show. And you can go into the shopping area here on awakenradio.net and click on the Divine Connections button, and I'm in there if you'd like to order a dream reading in there or talk about compassion. And again, if you'd like to make a donation to Awakened Radio, click on the donate button at the top of each page. And you can also follow Awakened Radio on Facebook. And I guess thank you for joining me tonight. Stay tuned for Christina, who's next with the Aurora Connection. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me or contact me via Intuition by Rob or on my Facebook page, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about any questions you have relating the recurring numbers like 1111 or any signs or symbols that you've been getting, and we'll definitely talk about those there. Feel free to join us next week as we talk more about dreams and a new topic related probably to compassion, but be a new topic. So thanks for joining us this week, and stay tuned for Christina.
'Cause we're awakened, you won't catch us sleeping through the fight in life. We're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are